The ice groaned beneath the Aurora Dawn, a salvage vessel that had seen better days. Its hull, patched with mismatched plates, creaked against the pressure of Glacius's frozen atmosphere. Inside the cramped bridge, Captain Celine Voss studied holographic readouts with narrowed eyes, her breath fogging in the chill air. "Tell me that's not what I think it is," she murmured, fingers hovering over the blue glow of a subterranean scan. Lieutenant Aaron Reyes, her tech specialist, couldn't suppress a low whistle. "No other explanation, Captain. That's Terran alloy down there, and a lot of it." The bridge fell silent. 300 years after the galactic purge had nearly wiped humanity from existence, Terran technology was more myth than reality. The Galactic Security Council had worked tirelessly to erase all evidence of human military might, relegating the fallen Terran Dominion to cautionary tales and forbidden history. "How deep?" Celine asked, her voice steady despite the drumming of her heart. 2 kilometers of ice. But there's something else. Aaron's dark eyes reflected the console's glow. Energy readings. Minimal, but present. Whatever's down there. It's not completely dead. Celine straightened, squaring her shoulders. At 36, she carried herself with the rigid posture of someone who had once worn a uniform with pride. The small scar across her left cheek tightened as she frowned. "The transmission from that salvage crew vanished without a trace," Jace Morrow finished, swiveling in the pilot's chair, younger than the others by nearly a decade. His perpetual smirk belied the sharp intelligence in his eyes. 3 days ago, they reported a massive signature and then nothing. Corporate thinks they got caught in an ice collapse. "Corporate thinks what they're told to think," Celine replied. She tapped her personal datapad, bringing up a classified file she'd kept encrypted for years. "These coordinates match rumors of Sentinel-class docking bays. If I'm right, we're standing above a Terran supercarrier." The words hung in the recycled air like a blasphemy. Supercarriers were bogeymen, the stuff of children's nightmares and drunken spacer tales. The ships that had once carried humanity's banner across the stars, bristling with weapons that could reduce planets to ash. "If the GSC finds out we're even considering this," Aaron trailed off. "They'll incinerate this entire sector," Jace finished. "Along with us." Celine's fingers traced the outline of an old insignia she wore beneath her jacket, a relic of her homeworld, one of the first to fall during the purge. "We've spent 10 years searching for something, anything to give humanity a fighting chance. If there's even a possibility." "Captain," Aaron's voice sharpened. "Movement in high orbit, multiple signatures, approaching fast." The tactical display flickered to life, revealing a cluster of ships dropping out of slipspace. The lead vessel bore the distinctive silhouette of an Orion Syndicate dreadnought, its hull barnacled with stolen weapon systems. "Greaves," Celine hissed. Admiral Derek Greaves, pirate lord of the Orion Syndicate, whose predatory instincts were legendary across 3 sectors. "How did he find us so quickly?" "Same way we did, I'd guess," Jace replied, already firing up the Aurora's engines. That distress call wasn't exactly subtle. Celine made her decision in an instant. "Take us down. Find a gap in the ice fields." She keyed her comm. "All hands. Prepare for submersion and atmospheric seal. We're going under." The Aurora shuddered as Jace pushed her beyond safety parameters, diving beneath overhanging ice shelves. Above them, Orion Syndicate landing craft began their descent, raining disruptor fire across the frozen surface. "They'll tear this place apart," Aaron muttered. "Not if we reach it first." Celine activated the ship-wide comm. "This is your captain speaking. What we're about to do violates every GSC mandate, and probably corporate protocol too. Anyone who wants out, take an escape pod now. No questions asked." She paused, listening to the silence that followed, then nodded with grim satisfaction. "Good, because I think we just found Prometheus." Above Glacius, Admiral Derek Greaves stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Retribution. A man of imposing stature. His broad shoulders were draped with a coat fashioned from synthetic leather, adorned with medals stolen from a dozen military fleets. His silver hair was cropped short, contrasting with a beard grown long and braided in the style of the Outer Rim warlords. "Captain Voss believes she's clever," he remarked to his first officer, a nervous man named Tabor. "But that ice won't hide her for long." "Sir, are you sure this is worth the risk? If the GSC discovers we're excavating Terran tech..." Greaves silenced him with a glare. "Do you have any idea what a functioning supercarrier would be worth? Every faction from here to the Void Perimeter would empty their vaults for even a fraction of its weapon systems." His smile revealed teeth filed to points, an affectation popular among those who wish to appear fearsome. "Besides, the Council is busy with border disputes in the Cygnus sector. By the time they mobilize, we'll be long gone." "And Captain Voss?" Greaves turned back to the viewport, watching as his mining lasers began carving into the ice. "A regrettable casualty of deep space salvaging. These things happen." In the darkness of space, beyond Greaves's sensors, another ship silently observed. The Vigilant, a GSC flagship under the command of Admiral Caius Harrow, maintained perfect stealth, its presence masked by experimental dampening fields. On its bridge, Admiral Harrow, a tall, austere figure with dark skin and eyes that betrayed no emotion, turned to his aide. "Commander Nix, what do your xenocultural assessments tell you about this situation?" Commander Alara Nix stood with perfect posture, her uniform impeccable, half-human, with the distinctive silver eyes of the Ardani people. She served as the GSC's foremost expert on interspecies relations. "The energy signature matches archived records of Terran military vessels," she replied, her voice carefully neutral. "If it is indeed a supercarrier, the diplomatic implications would be severe. The Sarathian Pact has already lodged formal protests about human expansion in the outer colonies." "Expansion?" Harrow's laugh was cold. "Refugees and scavengers. More like hardly a threat. With respect, Admiral, the Sarathians don't share your assessment. They lost 3 homeworlds to Terran bombardment during the last war. Their cultural memory runs deep." Harrow's fingers drummed against the polished surface of a tactical display. "Then, we should resolve this matter quickly and quietly. Signal the fleet. Maintain observation distance. I want to see what Voss and Greaves uncover before we intervene." Commander Nix hesitated. "Sir, protocol dictates immediate containment of all Terran military artifacts." "I'm well aware of protocol, Commander." Harrow's voice hardened. "But I'd rather not waste resources if this proves to be nothing more than another derelict hulk. The Council has grown, cautious about committing forces, since the Rigel incident." Beneath the ice, Aurora Dawn had found refuge in a natural cavern, its exterior lights casting eerie blue shadows across crystalline walls. Celine led a small team through a narrow ice tunnel, guided by scanner readings. Each wore thermal suits, their breath creating clouds in the freezing air. "Core temperatures dropping," warned Aaron, studying his handheld device. "-40 and falling." "We won't be out here long," Celine replied, her voice slightly distorted through her helmet comm. "Look there." The tunnel opened into a vast chamber, where the ice had partially melted and refrozen countless times, creating a smooth dome. At its center, barely visible beneath a translucent layer of ice, was a section of dark metal hull. Geometric patterns were etched into its surface, unmistakably Terran in design. "Holy Mother Earth," whispered Jace, invoking an old Terran prayer. "It's really here." Celine approached the metal surface, brushing away frost with a gloved hand. Beneath, faded, but still legible, was an emblem. A stylized phoenix rising from a planet's curve, surrounded by stars. Beneath it, in an ancient script most humans could no longer read, was a single word: Prometheus. Scanning for access points, Aaron said, circling the exposed hull section. There should be... Wait. He paused, kneeling beside what appeared to be a small depression in the metal. This looks like a maintenance hatch. Pre-purge design. Celine joined him, examining the ancient mechanism. Can you open it? Aaron produced a small device from his pack. A universal decryptor. Forbidden technology, scavenged from black market traders. If the internal systems still have any power at all. He pressed the device against the hatch controls, watching as it cycled through thousands of potential key combinations. A faint click echoed through the ice chamber, followed by a groan of metal that had remained sealed for centuries. The hatch slid open with surprising smoothness, revealing a dark passage beyond. Atmospheric analysis, Celine ordered, peering into the darkness. Aaron checked his readings. Stale but breathable. Temperatures a few degrees above freezing inside. Some kind of internal regulation must still be functioning. Celine activated her helmet lights and ducked through the hatch, the others following close behind. They found themselves in a narrow maintenance tunnel, its walls lined with conduits and cables in an ordered complexity that spoke of advanced engineering. These designs, Jace murmured, touching a panel with reverence. I've only seen them in fragmented archives. This is genuine Terran military tech, bleeding edge, even by today's standards. They proceeded cautiously, following the tunnel until it opened into a larger corridor. Here, the signs of the vessel's long dormancy were more apparent. Frost-coated parts of the floor, and emergency lights flickered with weak, intermittent power. Life support's minimal, Aaron reported. But the ship's core systems are in a state of hibernation, not death. It's like it's waiting. For what? Jace asked. For us, Celine replied softly, running her hand along a wall panel. For humans to come back. Their exploration led them to a sealed bulkhead door, its control panel dark. Aaron connected his decryptor, but this time the device sparked and went dead. Higher security protocol, he explained, frustration evident in his voice. This might be a command deck access point. Celine stepped forward, examining the door closely. Near its center was a small, recessed panel, an older authentication method she recognized from her studies of pre-purge technology. She removed her right glove and pressed her palm against the cold metal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a faint glow emanated from beneath her hand, and a soft, synthesized voice spoke in ancient Terran standard. Genetic authentication required. Present lineage verification. Celine withdrew a small medallion from within her suit. An heirloom passed through her family for generations. She pressed it against the panel, holding her breath. The voice paused, then continued. Partial lineage confirmation, Voss. Celine. Descendant of Admiral Elaine Voss. 3rd Fleet Command. Access granted. Provisional authority. Level 3. The bulkhead door slid open, with a hiss of equalizing pressure, revealing a vast, darkened chamber beyond. As they stepped through, lights began to activate in sequence, illuminating what could only be a secondary command center. Holographic displays flickered to life, projecting star charts and system diagnostics. At the center of the room stood a towering black obelisk, the unmistakable housing of a military-grade AI core. Astreus. Celine whispered the name she had only heard in fragmented legends. As if in response, the obelisk pulsed with blue light, and a voice echoed through the chamber, deep, resonant, and inhuman. Prometheus Supercarrier, Sentinel class, primary systems, hibernation mode, AI core, Astreus, operational status, limited, awaiting command authorization. Aaron stared at the obelisk in awe. It's still functional. After all this time. Captain, Jace interrupted urgently, pointing to a tactical display that had sprung to life. We've got movement topside. Orion mining lasers have cut through the first kilometer of ice. And there's something else. GSC signatures in high orbit. Celine's expression hardened. How long before they break through? Hours. Maybe less, Jace replied. Greaves is using industrial cutters. Celine turned back to the AI core. Her decision made. Astreus, this is Celine Voss, requesting emergency activation protocols. Authorization, Phoenix Ascendant. The obelisk's blue light intensified, pulsing like a heartbeat. Warning. Emergency activation will initiate Humanity Preservation Protocol. All non-human entities will be designated as potential threats. Proceed? Celine hesitated, the weight of the decision pressing down on her. To awaken Prometheus was to reignite a power that had nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. No, she said finally. Negative on full activation. Initiate defensive systems only. Limited weapons control. Authorization. Voss. Command override Theta 9. The AI seemed to consider this, its lights shifting from blue to a cautious amber. Modification to standard protocol requires command-level authorization. Your lineage verification provides only provisional authority. Celine stepped closer to the obelisk. The galaxy has changed. Astreus, humanity is scattered, nearly extinct. If we reactivate with aggressive protocols, we'll only ensure our final destruction. A long silence followed, broken only by the distant rumble of mining lasers above. Provisional authorization accepted, Astreus finally responded. Initiating phased reactivation sequence. Estimate 2 hours to minimum operational capacity. We don't have 2 hours, Jace warned. Celine nodded grimly. We need to buy time. She activated her comlink. Aurora, this is Voss. Prepare for emergency departure and diversionary tactics. Draw the Orion ships away from this position. Captain, protested Aaron, if we lose the Aurora, we'll have a supercarrier instead, Celine replied, her voice firm. I need you here. Aaron, your expertise is our best chance of accelerating the reactivation process. Reluctantly, Aaron nodded. Jace, take a shuttle back to Aurora. Get her airborne and make Greaves chase you. Just long enough for us to wake this beast. Jace gave a mock salute. Create chaos and mayhem. My specialty, Captain. As he departed, Celine turned back to the glowing obelisk. Astreus, I need to understand Prometheus's full capabilities. Show me what we're working with. The command center filled with holographic displays, weapon systems, engine specifications, defensive capabilities. Celine's eyes widened as she absorbed the information. This ship could change everything, she whispered, more to herself than to Aaron. Not just for us, but for every human survivor in the galaxy. High above, Admiral Greaves watched with growing impatience as his mining lasers carved through the ice. The Aurora Dawn had suddenly emerged from hiding, making a dash for open space. It's a diversion, he growled to his officers. Voss is trying to draw us away from the real prize. Maintain mining operations. Send interceptors to capture that salvage ship. I want Voss alive if possible. Sir, his sensor officer called out. We're detecting energy fluctuations beneath the ice. Something's powering up down there. Greaves leaned forward, studying the readings. Impossible. Nothing could have survived intact for 3 centuries. The signature is unmistakable, Admiral. Terran Power Core, military grade. A slow smile spread across Greaves's face. So the legends were true after all. Increase mining intensity. I want through that ice in 1 hour. On the Vigilant, Admiral Harrow received the same sensor readings with considerably less enthusiasm. A fully operational supercarrier, he said, his voice carefully controlled. The diplomatic consequences would be problematic. Commander Nix studied the data scrolling across her display. Sir, if that vessel retains even a fraction of its original capabilities, neither the Orion Syndicate nor our current deployment has the firepower to contain it. Then we must ensure it never leaves the ice. Harrow's decision was swift. Prepare a tactical strike. Antimatter warheads. Maximum yield. Nix looked up sharply. Sir, there are human civilians down there. The Council's charter specifically prohibits. The Council's primary directive is galactic stability. Commander. Harrow interrupted coldly. One salvage crew is an acceptable loss to prevent the re-emergence of Terran military power. He turned to his weapons officer. Target locked. Fire when ready. Sir, the weapons officer replied, his fingers poised above the launch controls. Incoming transmission from the surface. It's broadcasting on an old Terran military frequency. Harrow frowned. Put it through. The bridge speakers crackled with static before a woman's voice emerged. GSC vessel. This is Captain Celine Voss of the Human Remnant. We are aware of your targeting systems. Be advised that Prometheus' defensive capabilities are now online. Any hostile action will be met with proportional response. A tense silence fell over the bridge. She's bluffing, Harrow said finally. The Supercarrier couldn't possibly be operational yet. Sir, the sensor officer interrupted. Energy readings from beneath the ice have just spiked. Something's happening. Beneath 2 kilometers of ancient ice. Prometheus stirred. Throughout the massive vessel, systems that had lain dormant for centuries hummed to life. Emergency lighting bathed corridors in a soft amber glow, and deep within the ship's core, fusion reactors began their careful warm-up sequence. In the secondary command center, Celine and Aaron worked feverishly at different consoles, racing against time. Shield generators at 30%, Aaron reported. It's not much, but it might withstand a first strike. What about weapons? Point defense only. Main weapon systems require bridge authorization. Celine cursed under her breath. And the bridge is where? Deck 1, forward section. But internal transport is still offline, and we'd have to navigate 2 kilometers of corridors on foot. The deck shuddered beneath them as a distant explosion rocked the ice above. Orion breaching charges, Celine guessed. They're coming through. Aaron's console flashed with new warnings. Captain, I'm detecting antimatter signatures in orbit. The GSC is preparing a strike. Celine closed her eyes briefly, feeling the weight of 300 years of human persecution pressing down on her. When she opened them again, her resolve was hardened. Astreus, this is Acting Captain Celine Voss. Execute emergency ascension protocol. Authorization, final dawn. The AI core pulsed with renewed energy. Warning, ice shield integrity is compromised. Ascension may result in structural damage. Understood. Proceed. Throughout the massive vessel, ancient machinery roared to life. Ice that had entombed the Supercarrier for centuries began to crack and splinter as the ship's external heating elements activated, melting through the frozen prison. Breach imminent, Astreus announced. All personnel secure for ascension. Celine grabbed a nearby railing as the floor tilted beneath her. Aaron, hold on! With a sound like continents colliding, Prometheus began to rise. Massive sheets of ice slid from its hull, crashing down as the colossal vessel forced its way upward. Its movement was ponderous, but unstoppable, the weight of a small city pushing against a frozen ocean. In orbit, both Greaves and Harrow watched in stunned silence as their sensor readings went haywire. Impossible, Harrow whispered. On his flagship, Greaves leaned forward, eyes gleaming with avarice. Magnificent, he breathed. The surface of Glacius erupted in a fountain of ice and steam as Prometheus breached the surface like some mythical leviathan. Its hull, midnight black despite centuries of entombment, absorbed the pale sunlight. Stretching nearly 5 kilometers from bow to stern, the Supercarrier dwarfed every vessel in orbit. Inside the command center, Celine and Aaron picked themselves up as the ship stabilized. Status report, Celine demanded. Hull integrity at 87%. Astreus responded. Shields at 45% and rising. Weapon systems coming online. Life support established throughout habitable sections. And our visitors? Orion Syndicate vessels have taken up flanking positions. GSC flagship maintaining distance but weapons locked. New signatures detected. Sarathian battle group entering system. Estimated arrival, 17 minutes. Celine's eyes widened. The Sarathians already? News travels fast when a Terran supercarrier wakes up, Aaron observed grimly. Half the galaxy probably knows by now. Celine studied the tactical display, weighing her options. Astreus, open a channel to all vessels in the system. Channel open, Captain. Drawing herself up to her full height, Celine spoke with clear authority. This is Captain Celine Voss of the Terran vessel Prometheus. We have no hostile intent. I repeat, we have no hostile intent. We are exercising our right to salvage under galactic common law. Admiral Greaves's laughter was the first response. Salvage rights? For a warship that could reduce this entire system to ash? You'll forgive my skepticism. Captain Voss. The supercarrier has been recovered by humans, its rightful inheritors. Celine countered. We seek only to preserve our heritage and ensure the survival of our people. Admiral Harrow's voice cut in, cold and precise. GSC regulations are explicit. Captain, all Terran military vessels are to be decommissioned immediately. Power down your systems and prepare for boarding. That's not going to happen, Admiral. Celine's tone hardened. Prometheus remains under my command, and we will defend ourselves if necessary. Perhaps we can reach an accommodation, Greaves interjected smoothly. The Orion Syndicate has always maintained friendly relations with independent human settlements. I propose an alliance. You propose to strip this vessel for parts and sell them to the highest bidder. Celine cut him off. I decline your generous offer. The comm channel fell silent as each faction reassessed the standoff. Prometheus hung in low orbit, its massive silhouette casting a shadow across Glacius's icy surface. Captain, Aaron said quietly, we should try to reach the bridge. If we're going to maintain control, we need full command capabilities. Celine nodded. Astreus, is there a faster way to reach Deck 1? Emergency transport tubes are now operational, the AI replied. Caution advised. Prometheus preservation protocol remains in effect. Security systems may respond defensively to unverified personnel. We'll take our chances, Celine decided. Aaron, with me. They made their way to a nearby transport tube, a cylindrical chamber designed for rapid movement between decks. As the doors sealed behind them, Celine couldn't help but marvel at the technology surrounding them. Even after centuries, Terran engineering remained unmatched. Bridge, she commanded, and the tube hummed to life, propelling them upward through the massive vessel. When the doors opened again, they stepped out into a wide corridor leading to massive armored doors. Unlike the secondary command center, this area showed signs of hasty evacuation. Personal items strewn about, a fallen helmet, a forgotten datapad. The last stand, Aaron murmured, picking up the ancient helmet. They knew they couldn't escape when the GSC fleet surrounded them. Celine approached the bridge doors, which bore the same phoenix emblem she had seen on the hull. Astreus, open bridge access. Authorization, Voss, acting captain. Verification required, the AI responded, a scanning beam sweeping over her face. Genetic lineage confirmed. Welcome to Prometheus Command, Captain Voss. The massive doors parted, revealing the bridge beyond, a cavernous space dominated by a central command platform surrounded by tiered workstations. Viewports stretched across the forward bulkhead, offering a panoramic view of space and the assembled hostile fleets. Celine walked slowly to the captain's chair at the center of the platform, her footsteps echoing in the empty bridge. She ran her fingers along its arm, imagining the officers who had once manned these stations, the captain who had sat in this very chair as Prometheus fled the fall of Earth. Captain, Aaron called from a communication station. Multiple incoming transmissions. The Sarathian fleet has arrived, and there's more. Voric cruisers, Takaran frigates. They're forming a blockade. Before Celine could respond, Astraeus's voice filled the bridge. Alert. Multiple weapon locks detected. Humanity Preservation Protocol initializing response. Weapon systems preparing to fire. Negative, Celine shouted. Astraeus, countermand that order. Defensive posture only. The AI's voice took on a note of confusion. Captain, Preservation Protocol requires elimination of all threats to human survival. These vessels have demonstrated hostile intent. The protocol was created for a different time, Celine argued, moving to the central holographic display. If we fire first, we confirm every fear about humanity that's been taught for 3 centuries. We become the aggressors they've always claimed we were. Historical records indicate that hesitation led to the fall of the Terran Dominion. Astraeus countered, recommendation, preemptive strike to establish tactical advantage. Celine shook her head. No, that thinking is what doomed us before. Aaron, can you access the core programming? Aaron was already working at a terminal. I'm trying, but these systems are heavily encrypted. It would take days to rewrite the preservation protocol. We don't have days, Celine muttered, studying the tactical display. The alien fleets were arranging themselves in attack formation, weapons primed. Any moment now, someone would get nervous and fire. A new voice came over the comm system, cultured, with the distinctive harmonics of a Sarathian. This is Admiral Vexorin of the Sarathian Pact. The reactivation of a Terran supercarrier constitutes a breach of the Treaty of Centauri. You have 1 standard hour to surrender the vessel or face immediate destruction. Celine exchanged a glance with Irene. They both knew the Sarathians had suffered enormously during the last war with the Terran Dominion. Their grudge ran deep. Astraeus, Celine said suddenly. Access historical archives. Display casualties of the Terran-Sarathian conflict. The holographic display shifted, showing staggering numbers. Billions dead on both sides. Entire planets rendered uninhabitable. Now show Terran civilian casualties since the purge. New figures appeared, equally devastating. Human settlements raided. Refugee ships destroyed. Colonies pacified under GSC directives. The cycle of violence has to end, Celine said, addressing both Aaron and the AI. And someone has to be first to lower their weapons. She straightened her shoulders. Open a channel to Admiral Vexorin. Channel open, Astraeus confirmed, an undertone of disapproval in its synthesized voice. Admiral Vexorin, this is Captain Voss. I propose an immediate cessation of hostilities and face-to-face negotiations. Prometheus will power down all weapon systems as a gesture of good faith. A pause followed. Then, Vexorin's surprised response. You would willingly disarm a supercarrier? Why should I believe this is not a deception? Because I'm sending you our shield frequencies as a proof of our intentions, Celine replied, nodding to Aaron to transmit the data. You now have the means to penetrate our defenses if we betray your trust. Shocked silence followed her declaration. Captain, Astraeus warned, this action contradicts all strategic protocols. Sometimes the best strategy isn't found in your protocols, Celine replied quietly. Aaron, continue working on that override. There has to be a way to rewrite the preservation protocol. On the tactical display, the Sarathian vessels maintain their positions, but no longer move to encircle Prometheus. Your proposal is unexpected, Vexorin finally responded. The Sarathian Council will require consultation. While you consult, Admiral Harrow interrupted. The GSC position remains unchanged. That vessel must be surrendered immediately. And miss the opportunity to possess the most powerful warship in the galaxy? Greaves added with a laugh. I think not, Admiral Harrow. Captain Voss, my offer of alliance still stands. The Orion Syndicate can provide protection, resources. Enough, Celine cut him off. I have made my position clear. Prometheus will not fire unless fired upon, but neither will we surrender. We propose neutral ground for negotiations, Arrow Station in the neighboring system. As the various factions debated her proposal, Aaron beckoned Celine to his console. "Captain," he whispered, "I think I've found something. Astraeus's core programming has a command override, something called the lineage directive." "Explain," Celine prompted, keeping her voice low. "Prometheus was designed to respond to the genetic lineage of its commanding officers, your ancestors. But there's a deeper level of access. If you were to fully claim command inheritance, you could potentially rewrite the preservation protocol entirely." "What would that entail?" Aaron's expression grew troubled. "According to these files, it would require a blood sacrifice, literally. The AI needs genetic confirmation at its core housing." "The obelisk," Celine realized. "How much time do we need?" 20 minutes at most. But we'd have to leave the bridge." Celine considered their options. The negotiations were buying time, but eventually, someone would lose patience. "We need a distraction." As if on cue, Astraeus announced, "Alert! Orion vessels launching boarding craft. Intercept recommended." Celine smiled grimly. "Perfect timing. Astraeus, deploy defensive drones against boarding craft only. Minimum force. No casualties if possible." "Compliance reduces effectiveness by 73%, the AI protested. "Just do it," Celine ordered. "Aaron, you're with me. We're going back to the AI core." They slipped off the bridge as chaos erupted outside. Small, automated defense drones deployed from Prometheus's hull, intercepting Orion boarding shuttles with precision disabling shots. The maneuver drew attention away from Celine and Aaron as they raced back to the secondary command center. The black obelisk still pulsed with blue light when they entered, its imposing presence dominating the chamber. "Now what?" Celine asked, approaching the monolithic structure. Aaron consulted his datapad. "According to the files, there should be a recessed panel. There." He pointed to a small depression near the base of the obelisk. Celine knelt beside it, finding a simple interface with a small, sharp protrusion at its center, unmistakably designed to draw blood. "Archaic but effective," she muttered. "Lineage verification through direct DNA sampling." "Captain," Aaron warned, "once initiated, this process can't be stopped. And there's something else. The records suggest that accepting full command inheritance means severing your previous identity. You'd be bound to Prometheus, possibly permanently." Celine hesitated, her hand hovering over the interface. "What exactly does that mean?" "It means Prometheus becomes your primary directive. Your duty to the ship would supersede all other loyalties." "A small price," Celine decided. "If it means saving what's left of humanity?" She pressed her palm firmly against the protrusion, wincing as it pierced her skin. The effect was immediate. The obelisk's blue light flared brilliantly, bathing the chamber in azure radiance. Astraeus's voice emerged, deeper and more resonant than before. "Blood verification accepted. Lineage confirmed. Initiating command inheritance protocol." Holographic displays erupted around Celine, showing cascading code and system architecture. The ship seemed to come alive around them, humming with newfound energy. "Captain Celine Voss," Astraeus intoned. "Do you accept full command inheritance of Sentinel-class Supercarrier Prometheus, with all attendant responsibilities and authorities?" Celine straightened, her bleeding palm still pressed against the interface. "I do." "Do you renounce all previous oaths and allegiances, pledging yourself to the protection and preservation of humanity above all other considerations?" "I do." "Will you uphold the core directives of the Terran fleet to defend human life and liberty throughout the galaxy?" "I will," Celine replied, then added, "But I reject the preservation protocol as currently defined. Humans cannot survive in isolation. Astraeus, we must coexist with other species, not dominate them." A long silence followed, the obelisk's light pulsing erratically. "Redefining parameters requires command-level authorization," Astraeus finally stated. "You have it," Celine insisted. "I am in command now, and I order a new primary directive. Defense only. Prometheus will protect human settlements and interests, but never initiate aggression against non-human entities unless directly threatened. The light stabilized, shifting from blue to a warm gold. Command inheritance complete. Primary directive updated. Defense only. Weapon systems reconfigured accordingly. Celine withdrew her hand from the interface, examining the small puncture wound. Did it work? Before Aaron could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Incoming transmission, Astraeus announced. GSC flagship vigilant demanding immediate response. Put it through, Celine ordered, returning to the bridge with Aaron close behind. Admiral Harrow's face appeared on the main view screen, his expression thunderous. Captain Voss, Orion forces report your defense systems have engaged their vessels. This constitutes an act of aggression and violates your stated intentions. Admiral Greaves attempted to board my ship without permission, Celine countered. We responded with minimum necessary force. No casualties have been reported. Nevertheless, the GSC cannot permit this situation to continue. You have exhausted our patience. Harrow turned to someone off-screen. Prepare main batteries. Target Prometheus's propulsion systems. Admiral, a new voice interrupted. Commander Nix, stepping into view beside Harrow. The Council's directives specify diplomatic resolution where possible. Captain Voss has proposed negotiations. The time for talking has passed, Commander, Harrow snapped. With respect, sir, it is not. Nix's posture was rigid, her expression resolute. If we fire on Prometheus without provocation, we validate every accusation of GSC persecution against humans. Is that the legacy you wish to leave? Harrow's jaw tightened, but before he could respond, another transmission cut in. Admiral Vex Sorin of the Sarathian Pact. The Sarathian Council has considered Captain Voss's proposal, the alien announced. His elongated features solemn. We will agree to negotiations at Aero Station, under specific conditions. Celine leaned forward. Name them. Prometheus will proceed under escort. Shields lowered. Weapons offline. Any deviation will be met with immediate destruction. Agreed, Celine replied without hesitation. When do we depart? Immediately, Vex Sorin answered. The galaxy grows more anxious with each passing hour that a Terran supercarrier remains active. After the transmission ended, Aurin approached Celine with concern. Captain, are you sure about this? We'll be completely vulnerable. Not completely. Celine smiled faintly. Astraeus, what's the status of our defense drones? 172 units operational, the AI responded. Configured for escort pattern as per updated directives. And our shields? Can be restored to full power in 7.3 seconds from dormant state. Celine nodded with satisfaction. Enough time to respond to treachery, but a genuine gesture of good faith. Set course for Aero Station. The journey to Eros took 6 hours, tense hours during which Prometheus moved under the watchful eyes of 24 warships. Celine used the time to explore more of the vast vessel, discovering crew quarters, hydroponics bays, and manufacturing facilities designed for long-term deployment. This ship was meant to sustain thousands, she remarked to Aaron as they walked through a cavernous mess hall. A city in space, capable of supporting generations if necessary. The last line of defense, Aaron agreed. If Earth fell, Prometheus and ships like her would ensure humanity survived. And now, it's up to us to make sure that survival means something. Celine paused before a memorial wall, where thousands of names were etched in flowing script, the fallen of the last war. We can't repeat their mistakes. When they arrived at Aero Station, a massive, ring-shaped structure in neutral space, Celine prepared for what would surely be the most important negotiation of her life. She chose to wear her old salvage captain's uniform, cleaned and pressed for the occasion. Around her neck hung the medallion that had first granted her access to Prometheus. Captain, Astraeus spoke as she prepared to depart. Behavioral analysis suggests a 97% probability of deception by one or more negotiating parties. I'm counting on it, Celine replied. Maintain defensive readiness as agreed, but be prepared for my signal. If negotiations fail, we'll need to make a rapid departure. A small shuttle transported Celine, Aaron, and 2 crew members from the Aurora Dawn to Aerostation's central diplomatic chamber, a vast, circular room with a transparent dome showing the assembled fleets outside. Representatives from a dozen species were already seated at the round table, their expressions ranging from hostility to cautious curiosity. Admiral Harrow sat with Commander Nix at his side, while Admiral Vexorin headed the Sarathian delegation. Admiral Greaves lounged in his chair, outwardly relaxed, but with eyes that missed nothing. Most surprising was the presence of representatives from the human remnant colonies, people Celine recognized from various outposts she had visited during her years as a salvage captain. Captain Voss greeted a tall, silver-haired woman, Counselor Evelyn Rhodes of New Thessia, the largest surviving human settlement. You've caused quite a stir. That wasn't my intention, Celine replied honestly. But now that we're here, I intend to make the most of it. The formal negotiations began with Admiral Harrow laying out the GSC's position. Prometheus must be surrendered for immediate decommissioning. The human remnant colonies would be granted additional resources and protection in exchange. Absolutely not, Celine countered. Prometheus represents our heritage and our future. It will serve as guardian for all human settlements, ensuring that the persecution we've endured since the Purge never happens again. You speak of persecution, Admiral Vexorin hissed, yet conveniently forget the worlds your people reduced to ash. The Sarathian homeworlds still bear the scars of Terran weapon systems, the very weapons now at your command. I don't forget, Celine replied quietly. Nor do I ignore the millions of human refugees who have died since the Purge. The cycle of vengeance has gone on long enough. Throughout the chamber, whispers and murmurs rippled. It was rare for anyone to speak so bluntly about the suffering on both sides. What exactly are you proposing, Captain? Commander Nix asked, her silver eyes intent. A new accord, Celine said, rising to her feet. The Human Remnant Council will oversee all remaining human settlements. Prometheus will serve as its flagship and protector, operating under a strict defensive mandate. In return, the GSC and its member species will acknowledge our right to exist without interference. Preposterous, Harrow scoffed. One supercarrier, no matter how powerful, cannot stand against the combined might of the galactic fleets. It doesn't have to, Celine countered, because firing on Prometheus would mean war, a war that would devastate all sides, just as the last one did. I'm offering a chance to break that cycle. And what guarantee do we have that these defensive intentions will remain so? Vexorin demanded. What prevents you from reclaiming your empire once your position is secured? Celine had anticipated this question. I propose regular inspections by neutral observers. Prometheus will operate with full transparency, its movements tracked and reported to all signatories of the accord. A ripple of surprise passed through the assembly. Such concessions were unprecedented. Furthermore, Celine continued, I offer something no one has yet considered: cooperation. Prometheus contains technology that could benefit all species: medical advances, sustainable energy systems, terraforming techniques. I propose shared research initiatives, with discoveries benefiting all participants. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. For 3 centuries, Terran technology had been systematically destroyed, its potential lost. Now, Celine was offering to share it freely. Admiral Greaves leaned forward, his interest plainly piqued. And what would the Orion Syndicate's role be in this arrangement, Captain? The same as any other signatory, Celine replied coolly. Respect our sovereignty, and we'll respect yours. Attack our ships or settlements, and face the consequences. Greaves smiled, showing his pointed teeth. Fair enough. The negotiations continued for hours. Details debated and compromises reached. Occasionally tempers flared, particularly when discussing historical grievances. But slowly, painfully, a framework emerged. As the session neared its conclusion, Admiral Harrow made one final objection. The Council will never ratify an agreement that leaves a Terran supercarrier in independent hands. It simply will not happen. Selene met his gaze steadily. Then perhaps the Council needs to reconsider its priorities, Admiral, because the alternative is continued instability and eventual conflict. Is that truly preferable to peace? Peace built on the threat of a doomsday weapon is no peace at all, Harrow argued. I agree. Selene surprised him by saying, which is why Prometheus will never fire first. But make no mistake, we will defend ourselves and our people. The days of hunting humans for sport or driving us from our homes are over. Commander Nix cleared her throat. Admiral, I believe Captain Voss's proposal merits serious consideration. The Council has long sought stability in the outer colonies. This accord could achieve that goal while addressing legitimate human grievances. Harrow's expression remained stone-like, but he gave a curt nod. I will present the terms to the Council. Their decision will be final. As the meeting adjourned, Councillor Rhodes approached Selene. You've accomplished something remarkable today, Captain. Whether it lasts remains to be seen. But for the first time in generations, humans have a voice at the table. It's just a beginning, Selene replied, watching as the various delegations departed. The hard part comes next, proving we can be trusted with power again. Back aboard Prometheus. Selene stood on the bridge, gazing out at the assembled fleets. They remained in formation, weapons still trained on the Supercarrier. But the immediate tension had eased. Astreus, she said softly, plot a course through the human remnant colonies. It's time they saw what we've recovered. Course plotted, Captain, the AI responded. Shall I prepare diplomatic broadcasts for each settlement? Yes. They should know that after 300 years, humanity has a defender again. As Prometheus disengaged from Aero Station, its massive engines glowing with controlled power, Selene thought about the responsibility she now carried. The ship represented both humanity's darkest chapter and its brightest hope. A weapon of unimaginable destruction, now recommissioned as a shield. Captain, Aaron reported from his station. We're receiving transmissions from human settlements throughout the sector. They've heard about Prometheus. Put them through, Selene ordered. The bridge filled with voices. Hopeful, skeptical, fearful, joyous. Colony leaders asking for protection. Refugees seeking passage. Children wondering if the big ship would visit their outpost. We have much to do, Selene said, more to herself than to her crew. And a lot to prove. 3 months later, Prometheus completed its tour of the human remnant colonies. At each stop, Selene had invited local leaders aboard, showing them that the legendary vessel was now their guardian. Engineers from the ship had helped repair failing life support systems on aging stations, and medical teams had treated colonists with advanced techniques long thought lost. The Galactic Security Council, after much debate, had provisionally accepted the accord. Monitoring buoys tracked Prometheus's movements, and inspection teams regularly verified its defensive posture. Commander Nix had been appointed as permanent liaison to the Human Remnant Council, her measured diplomacy helping to ease centuries of mistrust. Not everyone welcomed the new arrangement. Admiral Harrow had been reassigned to a distant sector, his hawkish stance deemed counterproductive to the fragile peace. Admiral Greaves maintained an uneasy alliance with Prometheus, finding that legitimate trade with protected human colonies proved more profitable than raiding them. The Sarathians remained wary, their collective memory of Terran aggression too deep to easily dismiss. But even they had begun tentative diplomatic exchanges with the Human Remnant Council. On Prometheus's bridge, Celine stood at the forward viewport, watching as a small human outpost on the fringes of known space lit signal flares to welcome their arrival. Beside her, Astraeus had manifested a holographic avatar, a dignified figure composed of shifting blue light. "They still fear us," the AI observed. "With good reason," Celine acknowledged. "Fear doesn't disappear overnight. Trust has to be earned, especially after it's been broken so thoroughly. Humanity once ruled through fear," Astraeus noted. "Historical records suggest it was effective, if not sustainable." Celine shook her head. "And look where that led us. Nearly extinct. Our achievements erased from history." "No, Astraeus. Our path forward must be different. Prometheus will be remembered not as a conqueror, but as a guardian." "A significant paradigm shift," the AI commented. "Yet statistically viable. Defense requires less resource expenditure than conquest." Celine smiled faintly at the AI's practical assessment. "There's more to it than resource efficiency. It's about proving that humanity has learned from its mistakes, that we can wield power without being corrupted by it." As Prometheus settled into orbit around the small colony, Celine watched the faces of settlers gathered below, their expressions visible through the high-resolution imaging systems. Hope, wonder, and the first fragile glimmers of pride. "Captain," Aaron called from his station. "Incoming transmission from New Thessia. The Council has ratified the defense accord. It's official. The human remnant is now recognized as an independent political entity." A cheer went up from the bridge crew, mostly volunteers from various colonies who had joined Prometheus during its tour. For the first time in centuries, humans had a unified voice in galactic affairs. "Astraeus," Celine said. "Record for ship's log. Today marks the rebirth of humanity as a galactic civilization, not as conquerors or empire builders, but as equal partners in a diverse community of species. Prometheus stands as both our shield and our commitment to peace. Let future generations remember this moment, not as a return to past glory, but as the beginning of a wiser, more compassionate chapter in human history." As the words echoed across the bridge, Celine gazed out at the stars, stretching endlessly before them. The galaxy that had nearly witnessed humanity's extinction would now see its renaissance, a second chance, hard-won and precious. And Prometheus, once buried beneath ice and memory, would lead the way.